Hello, fellow bookish people. I come to you today with the Booktubers I Love Tag, which was created by Anthony Andrews and which I was tagged by two booktubers that I quite love, Brian at Bookish and Alba at Seriela. So yes, let's get into the questions because I have a lot of people I love apparently because wow, this is one of these things where you go through your subscription list and it's like, I like them, I like them, I love them. It's like, okay, let's get to it. Question number one, who was the first booktuber you subscribed to? The first booktuber I subscribed to was Simon at Savage Reads because I was and still am very much a podcast listener, and I listened to Simon's podcast, The Readers, which unfortunately seems to be kind of, I guess, on hiatus. I don't check out their social medias, and actually, I like him more as a podcaster than I like him as a booktuber. Not that he's not a bad booktuber. He just does a lot of kind of multi-volume kind of things, and I love Simon. I love him. I love him as a podcaster more. Number two, who is the most recent booktuber you subscribed to? Actually, because of this very tag and watching both Brian and Alba's versions of this, I picked up quite a few booktubers in the recently. Steakuccino, the best length for a readathon, which she went with. Went with a 24-hour. I think I'd be a month readathon person myself. Nick Pepper, the Trauma Cleaners, where I was totally distracted by all the horses he was just happened to be with as he's giving this kind of vlog style review of the Trauma Cleaners. And of Books and Men, I watched her top 10 tag, top 10s tag. I don't know, is there still time to do the top 10s tag? Jason Old Blues Chapter and Verse top 10s tag. Where she was like, maybe I really should recheck out Salinger. I think I very much kind of skipped through Catcher in the Rye one afternoon in University Library, and it's like, maybe I should go back to that. Salinger has one of my favorite quotes, which was, "We all used to be private readers. We all used to be private readers." Remember that? Like that beautiful time? Something like that. See, now I've misremembered the quote. So yeah, so those are three of the new booktubers that I just today or very recently subscribed to. Now name three booktubers that you love / want to give a shout out to. Okay, I'm going to break this down into groups of three or sort of ish three. There's the biggies. They're the people who they drop their videos and you have a tendency just to click on them immediately, which for me probably is Steve Donoghue, One Book, One Review, the Poptimist, Old Blues Chapter and Verse. Yes, those would probably be the three. Steve Donoghue with his trollop read-a-thons doing the Pallister novels has probably taken control of the largest hunk of my reading life. Old Blues Chapter and Verse coming in second there with Sarah Waters Fingersmith and Kristen Lavensdatter, which I'm still working my way through, Jason. And then One Book, One Reviewer. This is the booktuber I want to become when I grow up. She is somebody who can review a book in a short, concise couple of minutes and does it in a much better way than I can with my long, rambly videos. Though I've somewhat come to accept that I'm a long, rambly guy. And so that's probably where I'm going to be, but I'm always going to strive that when I grow up, I could be as good as One Book, One Review. So those are the biggies. There's the literary ones. There's Britta Bowler, insert literary pun here. Rashmika Likes Books, Joseph Francis Burton. They're all kind of more on the literary side, very kind of, thoughtful and insightful that way. There's the poetry corner. We can, I guess, Strip Cover Lit has definitely pushed me into the poetry side, and their massive slew of tags, and they better keep up their poetry, dudes, even if no one's watching, even if it's only me. And that's pretty, okay, well, fine, but you do it because you love it, and if you love it, you'll do it. But and on the poetry side, there's the postmodern poetry prognosticator, and words everywhere. Two very thoughtful poetic channels. And then you go into other things. You get you want your bold opinions. You're like, oh, these people are going to give you hot takes which you may not agree with, but you're gonna enjoy anyways. You get people like the Bald Book Geek, Francina Simone, Books Are My Social Life, and Shawn the Book Maniac, who can give you a hot take on a book as well as just the general booktube drama, which is sometimes guiltily, as long as I'm nowhere near it, is enjoyable. There's the Canadians, because I'm a Canadian, so I have to put up for the embattled Canadian, not really embattled Canadians. People like Laura Fry, from the Dusty Bookshelf, another book vlog. The Bibliotherapist is someone who I've another kind of just recently kind of subscribed to. So the Canadians. Then there's there's the ones that are on hiatus ? ChallengeThyShelf, mementomori, Neil Griffiths, Stephen Partridge. And then, I guess at the very end of, a big line of stuff like that, you get what people seem like for whatever reason, they came on BookTube, they shared with us, and then, for whatever their own reasons, they decided to leave. And I bear them no ill will, and this is not me bitching at them. This is just me saying, these are booktubers that I appreciated that aren't around anymore. Their channels have been deleted. People like Michael at Catalyst Reads, somebody who I knew at the very beginning. He was around at sort of the very beginning of me starting. I've been here a year or two, something like that now. Perhaps departed PK's books, which I've noticed is his channel seems to have kind of closed up shop. And for whatever reason, it's like I enjoyed having you guys around, and I think those are other important booktubers to say I loved, and if they come back, that's great. If they go off to do their own other things and this just for whatever reason, and they didn't feel comfortable having the videos up, that's fine. But I those are ones that it's like this little gapping hole here where that was someone who was apart, and it's like I think it's really nice that it's like you guys made that impact on me, and I think it made that impact on a lot of other people. So cheers to you. So that is number 3. Number 4, if you could meet one booktuber right now, who would it be? God. Okay, well, look, if I wanted to go book shopping, I would definitely go with, someone with Steve Donoghue. If I wanted to sort of kind of come and, hang out for have dinner with, that's probably going to be Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, and Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. If I wanted to, if I probably wanted to go see watch some cool music, I'd go with Dane Reeds, and I get to watch Dane Reeds, on stage and stuff like that. There's so many different, this is things you can put it to all different things of the people that you just like. This is somebody I like to have a kind of quiet chat with, a tea. I mean, I did have, PK as somebody we could sit and kind of sip tea quietly and just, be awkwardly silent together, and one Canadian, one Scotsman, that would have been quite nice. Number 5, who is your favorite booktuber who is not a booktuber? Well, I think my go-tos, I'm sitting down for lunch before I go to work. It's like I watch some Philip DeFranco. Kind of he started out as kind of a drama thing, but he's gotten a lot more into kind of world events and news, and he's kind of building up this kind of news channel, which I'm really enjoying that things. He still has his fun, silly YouTube drama kind of corner, which is quite cool. But it's been fun to actually watch, to see him develop. Someone like and also Grace Randolph at Beyond the Trailer. She kind of covers the very kind of business side of Hollywood, and it's kind of a horse race thing. I enjoy movies as art, but I also I think like a lot of people nowadays, I also enjoy kind of listening about the business, and it's like, oh, how is this thing doing? Why didn't it do so well? What's the business dealings going on behind? And I find her quite an entertaining and fun way of enjoying movies that way. And oh, hey, look, I found a new question here. 5.5, who are your favorite podcasters? To bring it all the way back to, I came into this through podcasting. Who are my favorite podcasters? So the Readers, I think, is either defunct or on hiatus. As I said, I don't know what they're doing. I think my favorite movie podcasters are Dave White and Alonso Duralde at Linoleum Knife. They're a gay movie couple in Los Angeles who mix sort of popular movies with very kind of much the art house thing. They have a Patreon where they also talk about so they have a couple of Patreon shows. I'm the cheapest layer, so I listen to them also talk about TV. They do the thing that I think is really valuable for critics, is that they bring kind of the social, political context into stuff and widen and expand. And they also just have such a depth of knowledge of movies and the movie making process that I find them enjoyable that way. Though they're not too inside baseball of, they're not like grips and all that sort of stuff. So I enjoy them as a podcasting couple. Also, Alonso was I discovered them actually through YouTube, again through What the Flick, another movie reviewing thing, which is sadly defunct but is now turned into Breakfast All Day. So if you're a What the Flick fan, Google Breakfast All Day and you'll find them. Next one, hey, a little total Canadian content here is Canadaland, which is a Canadian media critic podcast, media criticism podcast, talking very much about the very small, insular, inbred kind of Canadian media landscape, which, because it is so small and so incestuous, it's a lot of times it's hard for anyone inside it to actually talk about other people in it, because in fears of I'm not going to get my next job or something like that. And Jesse Brown, who is probably most famous up here for being a part of breaking the whole scandal of our big Me Too thing before Me Too started, with a CBC host, Gian Gameshi, and just the really shitty things that he was doing. He broke that, but he's just developed as this actual company of expanding from that into talking about stuff like really terrible stuff happening up in Thunder Bay. They did a podcast on that. So yeah, if you're a Canadian and you're interested in how our media works, totally check out Canadaland. And then finally, Hello Internet, which is CPG Grey and Brady Heron, two YouTubers who their description is talking about YouTube life, work, and whatever. And as they say on their podcast, they're basically they don't say they're the pinnacle, but I believe they're the pinnacle of two dudes talking format, and that's what it is. Two charming dudes. Two charming, intelligent dudes talking about YouTube or whatever. They actually don't talk too much about YouTube, though. When they veer into YouTube, it's interesting to talk to two major big. They're educational creators. CPG Grey does kind of very short, sharp videos on interesting subjects. Sometimes politics. Not politics in that it's partisan, but more like political, like voting methods, or he did one on Tolkien, stuff like that, where Brady Heron is somebody who is the science thing, a number file, and we'll go with number file and the periodical table, sort of stuff like that, which they've but they talk about that, but they also just talk about their general life and are highly entertaining that way. So I thought it was important for me to bring it all around to podcasts. Now, number 6 is tag 14 booktubers. And if I haven't mentioned 14 booktubers in the preceding things, my math is really off. So all those people that I mentioned up there, they are tagged, and all the people that I didn't mention are also tagged. I have like about 500 or more, 300 to 400 subscriptions in my box. You guys are all tagged. You don't know who you are. but you're all tagged. It's, you know, share the love, all the wonderful, wonderful booktubers out there. And I hope just by mentioning people's names poorly, you know, it'll enter your consciousness, and at some point you'll check them out. So yeah. So yes, thank you very much, Brian and Alba, for tagging me. Thank you, Anthony Andrews. What another amazing booktuber out there. Somebody who is quite young and quite effortlessly seems to have mastered this this medium, and does a really good job. So yes, thanks to all, and yes, more videos later.